Everyone thought I had brought a cheap gift, but when the fiancé read the note, the color drained from his face, and my daughter finally learned the truth. Everyone thought I had brought a cheap gift, but when the fiancé read the note, the color drained from his face, and my daughter finally learned the truth. The moment I looked at my daughter's fiancé, I knew something was wrong. Not the kind of wrong that people notice immediately. The kind that reveals itself only when someone believes nobody is watching. My daughter Sophie's engagement party was being held at a beautiful suburban house. White chairs filled the lawn. Cameras flashed everywhere. On Instagram, everything looked perfect. Reality was different. Like most of the guests, I lived an ordinary life. I worked in the administrative office of a hospital. I was in my 50s. I still had some student loans left from a degree I completed later in life. Every year I checked my 401k contributions and worried about the future. I knew real life didn't run on filters. That's why when Sophie introduced me to her fiancé, Jason, his smile mattered less to me than his silences. He always said the right things. But he never said the whole truth. That difference matters. A few weeks after the engagement, Sophie started a new job. The salary was good. She told me she and Jason were saving money together to buy a house after marriage. I simply nodded. Ask few questions. I observe more. Then Thanksgiving arrived. We were all gathered in Sophie's apartment. During dinner, a banking notification appeared on Jason's phone. He immediately turned the screen over. Most people didn't notice. I did. I didn't react. I simply remembered. The game had begun. Over the following months, I noticed several strange things. Sophie was saving more money every month. But their joint account wasn't growing as quickly as it should have. Whenever she spoke, Jason answered. Whenever a question appeared, Jason changed the subject. People called it confidence. Called it control. One evening Sophie came to my house. There was concern in her voice. I don't think the numbers are adding up. I didn't immediately respond. I only asked, do you have the records? Yes. Keep everything. That was all. For the next 2 months we worked quietly. No accusations. No arguments. No drama. Only facts. Sophie saved the bank statements. I consulted a friend who handled financial fraud cases. We reviewed every transaction. Then the picture became clear. Jason had been withdrawing money from their joint account. Small amounts. Again and again. Under different descriptions. Altogether, the amount exceeded $30,000. Sophie still didn't know the full truth. And I didn't want her to. Not yet. Timing is everything in a game. People who rush usually lose. Then the wedding day arrived. The ceremony was being held in a large event hall. Guests placed gifts on a table. Placed mine there too. Cheap wooden box. Deliberately. No fancy ribbon. No expensive wrapping. Just a simple box. People glanced at it and moved on. Later it was time to open gifts. Jason picked up mine. The same smile I had never liked appeared on his face. Looks like a budget-friendly gift. Few people laughed. Sophie looked at me uneasily. I remained silent. Silence can be a move too. Jason opened the box. Inside was an envelope. Only one sentence was written on it. Don't smile before you read this. His smile paused. He pulled out the note. Only a few lines were written. All records of the money withdrawn from Sophie's joint account have been secured by an attorney. The USB drive is underneath this note. If this is a misunderstanding, it will be cleared up today. If it isn't, that will be clear too. That was all. No accusations. No threats. Only facts. I watched the color drain from Jason's face. First white. Then red. Then almost colorless. The room fell silent. Sophie immediately picked up the USB drive. What is this? Jason tried to answer. Then tried again. Then fell silent. Sometimes silence is more powerful than a confession. Sophie looked at me. I said nothing. The game was no longer in my hands. The truth could stand on its own. A few minutes later, the two of them went into another room. The celebration stopped. Guests began whispering. No one blamed me. 'Cause I had done nothing wrong. I had simply provided information. Legally. With evidence. Later Sophie came back out. There were tears in her eyes. But she didn't look weak. She looked free. It was all true. He nodded. I know. The wedding was cancelled that same day. A few weeks later, legal proceedings began. The process of recovering the money started as well. Nobody screamed. Nobody broke the law for revenge. The truth simply came out. Christmas, we gathered again. This time Jason wasn't there. Sophie sat peacefully with a cup of coffee in her hands. She asked, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Smiled. Because when people discover the truth for themselves, nobody can deceive them again. Snow fell outside the window. The game was over. Everyone thought I had brought a cheap gift. But when the fiancé read the note, the color drained from his face. And my daughter finally learned the truth. Some games aren't won with noise. They're won with patience.